considering the support that I get from my presentation, I don't know what to begin with. So I thought I would begin with something different, but a thought has come to my mind looking at what I'm seeing here. And let me start with that. So about 2 weeks ago, I was part of E&Y Women's Network Forum that was being conducted. And it was mentioned there that with all the efforts that we are trying to take to create an equitable workforce and boards and corporates, it will take us about, globally, it will take the global corporates about 85 years from now to actually make this a more equitable society and a more equitable corporate. So 85 years from now. And I thought to myself, I said, my grandmother's generation, who was a doctor, it skipped that. My mother's generation, who's a professor, it skipped that. It skipped my generation with whatever little that I may have achieved. And unfortunately, it will not even happen in my daughter's generation. And that kind of is a thought which is not something which really gels very well with all of us. And then I see and I witness what I witnessed today. I had actually thought I'm going to get support to say, can we fast forward it from my granddaughter's generation at least to my daughter's generation? So I don't know where to begin now.
We begin with you and we'll take it down to the daughter. Come on, everybody, give her the support that she's asking for.
So with the ones that are interested and are here, so let me begin and say I'm just going to provide you very quick snapshot to be able to fast forward getting a better representation for women in corporate area by focusing only on 2 areas. So I have just twofold objective today. The first is to make you aware of a program that FICCI runs, which currently I am chairing on Women on Corporate Boards. So just give you the details of the program. And second part, request you for something that I need from all of you. So this is my only objective for today. So to begin on the program, the vision that we have is, how do we create gender balance within corporate boards through induction of credible women independent directors? That's our only vision. And we want to achieve this through 5 objectives that we have set out for ourselves. First is to help enhance the corporate governance standards through the gender balance. Second is create advocacy around gender inclusion in corporate boards. Third is create the talent pool that we need to be able to do it. So build on it, expand on it. Next, to develop this talent pool so that there are credible women that can join these boards and contribute towards these boards. And the last is to provide visibility to these women that are trained through our program. And I will come to this point later again to say why is there need to create this visibility today. So this is what we've set out as our agenda with the vision and the objectives as I have set out here. How do we run the program and how did we start the program? So it started with when we saw that there was women representation of about 5.2% is what FICCI tells me. Some other reports tell me it is somewhere between 8 to 10, so I don't know which one to focus on. But this is where we stand when we started the program. Mr. Arun Duggal and Anjali Bansal started it together in the year 2013. From there, they took it to FICCI. FICCI was very kind to accept the program and provide the platform that it required in the year 2014. We ran the first batch of women. There are about 48 women that we ran this program for. This was the pilot of the program. We wanted to see what were we doing right, what we needed to do. So that's what we started with. This batch graduated in July of 2014. There are 22 women, which is about 45% of these women that have actually secured close to about 80 plus directorship positions, not just in corporates. So it's corporates, it's their own internal companies, it could be social sector, all put together. So there is this success that we received. we fine-tuned the program, picked up a second batch, this time of 18 women. We started with 21, 2 dropped out, we continued with 18. They will graduate around end of September. And interestingly, before their graduation, some of them did come with us with some director positions already that they had. So about 52% of them already hold some or the other director position. And all put together about 21 currently. We will be commencing and starting our third batch shortly. Another few months, we should commence with that activity. So this is just to provide you with the history and the background of how the program started. Now, what do we do with the program? What actually happens in this? So it's a 5-fold steps that we have again. We begin with the candidate selection, then a mentorship that we run, then there are workshops that are conducted, then there's a graduation, and finally the women are placed. So it's a 5-step process that we follow. Selection. This is a very, very key aspect, especially after our first batch. There were a lot of lessons that were learned to say what kind of people need to be picked up, women need to be picked up, who can then be placed. Because if we are not able to secure a position, we are actually creating more of a problem for ourselves than solving it. So that's where we learn some lessons, and this is what we do now. We pick up high potential women from business, corporate, government, social sectors, academia, any of these. There's a selection committee which sits down and screens their resumes and what they have done, which comprises of the names that you can see there. The criteria is simple, but it is followed to the T now. And that is why you saw the reduction of 41 first time to down to about 18, because it was very stringently followed. Not only should they have very sound academic record, but also should be at very senior positions as of now. Because we realized that no matter how much you may say that somebody has achieved a distinction in something, as long as the age doesn't support them, somewhere we are not able to place them. So it does play an important, seniority and age does play an important role. They must have minimum 1 domain or industry expertise. It could be in any, but 1 is minimum, could be more than that. Excellent interpersonal and communication skills with a pleasant personality. Very, very interestingly, and I would just like to share that, when we started looking around for placements for the women that had been trained through our program, the first thing that the chairman of the board or the remuneration and nomination committee would tell us is to say, आपने जिसको भी देना है जरूर भेज दीजिए, but please ये इंश्योर करिएगा कि वो न्यूसेंस ना बने हमारे बोर्ड में. It's an insight, and I thought I should share that with you. So somewhere people are willing to take women as long as we go along with the flow, as long as we don't shake the certain norms that have been formulated. So that's what we heard. So that's why we specifically put down pleasant personality. We did not want people who could really, be the feminists, taking certain stands there. Another area that we are not very sticky about, and I will tell you why we focused on this, is we just want a reasonable knowledge of finance and accounting. Across boards, if you see, you would see that there is this huge focus on getting board members that come from investment banking, accounting, legal framework, because somewhere it is construed that that's what boards are for. There is that statutory compliance work that they need to do, and the financials need to be verified, and that's what they are for. Well, if we have to look at our first objective that we have put down, which is to raise the corporate governance standard, we do believe that we need a diverse skill set in the boards. And that is why we say that while it is very important for all these women to have good understanding of finance, business and accounting, but it is not essential. It can be picked up. There are other skill sets that are also required on the boards. There should be strong interest and ability to commit time for board positions. We did find that a lot of people wanted to go through the program, but as per their current career pattern that they were following, they couldn't pick up board positions. So that's why this was inserted. And the current employer should be willing to allow, so if they're still currently employed, they should be able to pick up board positions, because some of the corporates have, especially if you look at consulting and investment banking, they typically do not like their senior members to be part of other boards because they could be doing some business and transactions with them. And time commitment, because it does take time, and I will show to you why does it take time. The second part that we follow is the workshop. So there are these first of all, we share a lot of reading material with the women. They go through a lot of reading stuff, which is mandatory, required, statutory, compliance related, Companies Act, SEBI regulations, all that reading, case studies, Harvard case studies, what has gone right with boards, which has gone wrong with boards. So a lot of study material is given to them. And then PwC conducts one-day workshops for us, one in Mumbai and one in Delhi, where we focus on, we invite senior corporate leaders to speak to the women there. And they talk on technical sessions. So you can see the technical sessions, which we all know how boards run, so I don't need to go through that. But we also focus on the second aspect, which is the non-technical sessions, where we just explain to them what are the challenges and opportunities of being sometimes the only person of the gender in a board, where your view could be different. And I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but we as women do think differently than you as men. So we sometimes do have views which may appear alien to a group of men sitting together. So how do you overcome those challenges? So we do those kinds of material as well that we cover. With all the liability issues that are there with joining boards now, we do focus a lot on as to how do they individually do a due diligence to be able to pick up the right boards for themselves and not just pick up any board where they may have challenges later. And also as to how do we utilize networks. I don't know, as I can see even here now, I can see very, very few women here. But then when I came back to India in 1996 and I joined the defense industry, I must share with you, it is extremely difficult. It's my own personal experience, so I can. When you walk in somewhere and you're the only person of that gender amongst a whole group of men in suits, you don't even know who do you begin with. Who do you walk across to? No? So there are challenges that are there. So the network of women is smaller. It is much smaller a network. Men have much larger networks. So how do we ensure that we utilize these networks? So that's another area that we focus on specifically in the program. This is the soul of the program. There are many programs that are currently being run. You see, pamphlets of them, newspaper ads on them, on programs that are being done for women on corporate boards. But the soul of the program that we run under FICCI is the mentorship. And why I say that is because this is the only program where we have commitment of some very, very esteemed corporate leaders. And I will just show to you some of the names that you would see here. 56 of these corporate leaders have joined hands with us to actually take time out and mentor women that we pick and choose and select. There are some that I can see here from the bottom of my heart. A sincere thank you to all of you who spend your time. And this is what they do for us. So just to run through and explain to you, how do they commit their time? They get one mentee that gets attached to them for about a 6 to 8 month period. So it's a long period in which they need to meet them at least 4 to 5 times. And interestingly, some of them, when I talk to mentees, tell me that some of them spend close to 3 to 4 hours in each session, trying to explain to them what is the role of the board, the statutory and the strategic, more focus being on the strategic part of the board. How do you manage, how do you ensure that the stakeholder interests are managed well? How do you ensure that there is relationship building in management? And how do you handle challenging situations? And they do it through the typical Guru Shishya Parampara that we have. They have gone through many boards, they know what works, what doesn't work. They share practical experiences, they share what has actually happened in some of the boards that they are part of. So these are very practical learning sessions that the women go through, and there is a whole lot of time commitment which is provided by both, and that is why I call this as the soul of the program that we run. There's a graduation held after that. For the first one, it was held at the Taj. Taj is the one that had supported us for that. And the second one is being planned soon, so we will communicate when that happens. And then we come to placements. So placements happen currently in this manner. The primary responsibility of securing a board position rests with the candidate, the individual, the woman. However, there is a huge support that is provided by everybody, the mentor, FICCI, and people like you, the networks that are there. So the women leverage their individual network. The mentors reach out and speak to their networks to say, this is my mentee, I know it will add value to your organization, would you want to absorb if possible? Through board practice search consultants, there are a lot of search consultants that suddenly, because of the legislation that was there, were asked to help place women. So we reach out to them, they reach out to us because this is a talent pool which is available to them. FICCI does a great amount of work for us. It does send the profiles of all these people across to all their top 200 BSE companies, their board chairmen. From this year, they're also going to focus on the nomination and remuneration committee members. There is the website that FICCI has. All the profiles of all the women are there in under the corporate governance section of FICCI, which is this link which is available here. And a lot of advocacy that we do through for the program, like I'm doing currently here. What are the challenges that we face? And I would like to focus a little more time on this one. So the first biggest is mindset change. You know, a lot of people currently look at to say there's a legislation which demands that we need to have one woman on the board. We have ticked it. It's done, over with. And until and unless we move from that to a voluntary inclusion of women, we will not make a headway. We just wouldn't make a headway. So that's the first thing that we really face a challenge in. The second that we face is, now if somebody has to take a woman, they would prefer a name which is recognizable in the marketplace, somebody who's well known, somebody who's marquee, so that it overall upgrades the board. So that's the second, and there are just a finite number of women that are there. So those are the ones that get approached for the positions that are vacant. So that's another challenge that we face. The third challenge that we face is where immediately the thought goes to say, okay, I have to fill this position. Let me fill it with somebody that's known to me. I know wouldn't rock the boat. Profession baad mein dekhenge. You know, what is required or not required, we'll look at it later. So that's another that we face. And the third that we face is, again, which I mentioned earlier. Primarily, the women that join our program that come from finance or from legal, company secretarial background, are the first ones to be picked up. Any other skill set, which is technology, human resources, social, sustainability, these take much longer, much longer, because somewhere that openness to have diversity within the board doesn't currently exist. It is changing, but it needs to kind of be a little more fast-paced. Time and resource commitment is again another challenge that we face, though we do. So the whole program is pro bono. The women pay nothing, the mentors charge nothing, we charge nothing for whatever that we do. When we hold our workshops, those are done pro bono. When we do the graduation, that is done pro bono. So there is a lot of contribution that is made by people like you that support the program and equip that. However, when you're demanding that, you need to be very flexible with their time and resources, because they will be able to do it when they can do it. So that's the challenge that we face sometimes. What do I need from you? I told you I just have 2 things there. To explain to you what the program is, create awareness, and what do I need from you. So I need something very, 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 very basic. The first that I need is help us placing these women. Get to know them, meet them, understand what they bring to the table. Use your networks, use your own organizations to absorb them and see the contribution that they would make to your boards. So that's the first. The second that I need is advocacy. And let me just spend 2 minutes sharing with you what I heard last night at Mr. Khurakiwala's dinner. I was standing having a discussion with the British High Commissioner, and he mentioned to me that Britain in 5 years moved from about 12% representation of women on boards to close to about 23% in flat 5 years. No legislation in place, nothing. How did they do it? And that's what I need from you. It is through creating a community, a powerful support community, building that which will provide that support. So that's one. And the second is the behind the scenes persuasion that is required. If each one of you starts talking to each other and your own networks to say what value women will bring to the boards, it will happen automatically. No legislation is required for that. So it's just the behind the scenes persuasion and a community that would support this initiative is what I seek from you. And also, our third batch is to begin. So very good, high potential senior women that you are aware of, please feel free to send their profiles to FICCI, to Jyoti Vij, who handles the cell, and we should be happy to take them. So that's what I need from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shalini. And I think if there are some suggestions or questions regarding this, any of the members?
Some more cases say we arranged a program women directors because the successful was more than 30 women entrepreneurs participated in 2-day workshop.
Wow. That's very nice. It's good.
Yeah.
Could we just collaborate? Rather than do individual things, it's best to just collaborate and do it together, because then we create a wider network. We could do that. Any other suggestions?
Any other? Good. Thank you very much, Shalini, for... Oh yeah, please. Ashank, you want to say something?
This program, of course, is great to get new ladies in this board, which we badly need. But do you conduct anything for the existing lady directors, which may be also required, keeping in mind the large population now we'll have and so on? Just wanted to know.
So interestingly, Ashank, when I'm interacting with people, and especially a large number of heads, and corporate leaders like all of you, I'm not certain whether that program is only required for women or if it is required for both men and women put together. So that is one piece which I think Rashesh will pick up as he heads the corporate governance side, because that's where it comes through to say that there is a lot that needs to be done within the corporate boards by both men and women by improving their skill set and how they can run boards more effectively. Having said that, a lot of the women that come to our program do sometimes have existing directorship positions. So they do come to just upgrade themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was
referring to. Yes. So they're both that we get, a new talent pool and existing. Both.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other? Yes.
Just a point of observation, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned that the women who come from the finance and the legal field normally gets picked up. Is this because you have a requirement of having independent directors on the audit committee? So a lot of corporates are kind of merging the women director requirement with the independent director requirement. So that's why you probably see that they want women independent directors so they can become part of the audit committee. That's my observation at least.
Could be, you could be very well right, but there are other committees that are statutorily required as well, which do require different skill sets. So somewhere we are not seeing the traction there. So that's what I was meaning.
Thank you.
Just the last word. So while we are doing everything that we can to develop women for your boards, a question to all of you. Are you doing something to develop your boards to absorb the women?